Hello, Syngap Land. My name is Michael Grawley, and this is episode 74 of Syngap 10, your 10-minute weekly briefing on everything you need to know about Syngap 1. Today is Friday, September 9th. I have 3 things I want to share with you today, maybe 4. Number 1, this week, Praxis, who you know is working on Syngap 1, and Invitae, who you know owns Ciitizen, hosted a webinar. The link is in the show notes. You should register. You should watch the on-demand recording. It is incredible. A webinar about how Praxis used their citizen data on SCN2A to do an FDA filing for their ASO for SCN2A. You're like, Mike, what are you talking about? Here's the deal, guys. Praxis also has another ASO in their pipeline, Praxo90, for Syngap 1. So everything I'm about to say about SCN2A is relevant because one of the next genes on their list is Syngap 1. So what they've done before, they're likely to do again for us. And you want to know about this because Praxis is blazing a trail here. So once they do all their lab work and they convince themselves this works by working in little, patient-derived lines and in mice, whatever, then it's time to test it in humans. Before they can test it in humans, they have to go to the FDA and they have to get approval to do a trial. They have to share all their data and explain how bad the disease is and blah, 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 blah. No one's ever done a trial for Syngap 1 before. No one's ever done a trial for SCN2A before, to my knowledge. I'm pretty sure about that. The data that they put in front of the FDA is called a natural history. It says, here is how this disease behaves, and therefore we're going to measure this thing, and we're going to show you that this thing changes from the natural history to prove our drug works. Please let us do this trial. Here's the natural course of disease. Here's the thing we think is going to change. Please let us do a trial and measure the change in that thing. That thing could be seizures, it could be sleep, it could be whatever. Many times, I've actually did a great podcast and I wrote an article called 1 Year Sooner, and I've explained this before. Many times companies have a drug and they're ready to test that drug, but there's no natural history. So they have to take 2 steps back and launch an entire natural history study to understand the disease before they can do an FDA submission. This time, the only natural history data that Praxis used was the SCN2A citizen data. Therefore, they were able to just develop the drug. They had the citizen data. They did the FDA filing. Kaboom. They didn't have to stop. They didn't have to go back. They didn't have to launch a natural history study. They didn't have to spend a year waiting before they could test a drug in children to correct a genetic issue. That is precisely what I said would happen over a year ago when we launched Ciitizen. So to the 180 plus families who have joined Ciitizen in the United States, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Because as we now know, Praxis licenses Ciitizen data, and they will be able to use that data, and they have just demonstrated that the FDA may even accept that data as a natural history study. Which means that when it's time for them to test Praxo90, their Syngap ASO, they could use that data. And if you are one of the families in the U.S. who has not yet joined Ciitizen, I am on bended knee right now. Make sure your child's story is a part of that data. Make sure Praxis and then the FDA benefit from all of those medical visits you've already undergone. And let's get that data in the story so that Praxis can share that with the FDA when they request permission to do a trial for Praxo90 on our kids. It's epic news. I know sometimes I get excited, but I'm not rounding up here. This is really big deal. This is a really big deal, and we should be ecstatic. So congratulations to our friends in the SCN2A community, Chris Pierce and others. Congratulations to our friends at Praxis. Congratulations to our friends at Invitae. And congratulations to us, frankly, for having such a large data set in Ciitizen. Congratulations to the 180 families who have already been generous enough with their experience to sign up for that. Takes 10 minutes, and then Ciitizen does all the work. It's huge news, and we should be ecstatic. Congratulations. Sign up for Ciitizen. Go Praxis, go. Let's get Praxo90 into a trial. And let's help these kids with Syngap 1. I should just stop here. There's a link in the show notes. If you want more, watch the webinar, ask me questions, whatever. Number 2, as I mentioned in episode 73, as all I talked about in episode 73, we lost Leon over a week ago. Our hearts are still broken. It's still hard for me to talk about. There is a link I will share in the show notes. The German and Austrian communities have a thing where you can do a little digital remembrance and light a digital candle for Leon. Please do that. He is the first Syngapian I know of who we've lost. And I'm going to keep going because I don't want to start crying again. And thank you for everybody who didn't make fun of me for crying in the last one. Grants. September 1st is come and gone. On September 1st, we received a awesome collection of grant proposals. And we have sent those on to our clinical and scientific advisory board and asked them for their feedback. And I can't wait to see their feedback. Very exciting stuff. Good news. There's brilliant people who are excited to work on Syngap 1. Bad news. Well, not bad news, but unsurprising news. We need to raise some money, people. It is the end of the year. Giving season is in November. We have fundraisers in October and November. Oh, I'm going to talk about one more thing. And we have a scientific meeting in December. Let's raise some money. Stick it in your Christmas cards. Talk to your companies, do matching gifts, whatever. We have some incredible opportunities to support this work. And we also have 2 other grants from the last cycle that we just finally got approved grant agreements on. And we will put out a press release when we have a chance to put out a press release. There is just so much going on. I want to remind you that I work all day on this for free. We have one person who works quasi full-time, more than full-time on this. But for the most part, SRF is all volunteer. And if you want to see things go faster and you're like, Mike, why aren't those press releases done? Raise your hand and say, I want to be the press release person, or I want to be this person, or I want to help coordinate that, or I want to own that relationship. Because we have so much going on, folks. I'll be honest with you. Syngap 1 is exploding. SRF is growing. And everyone who's in the arena right now is getting really stretched. So if you're like, gosh, I really want to be part of this. It sounds so cool. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. There's real work to do. And that real work is going to help get therapies into our kids faster. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here. Praxis, Leon, grants. I talked about all those things. Oh, those of you who've been around for about a year will remember that last year in October, we all spent hours and hours and hours watching a very strange event where 3 dads drove across the country in a car and live streamed it. It was weird, but we couldn't stop watching. Good news. They're going to do it again. That's right. So UFD Tech and with Brett and Sydney and Kevin and Peter drove across the country, live streamed the whole thing, and did a fundraiser for SRF. It was amazing. And they're going to do it again. And last year, they helped raise enough money to do the Rarebase Round 1. And this year, they're going to raise enough money to help fund part of Rarebase Part 2. It's amazing. I cannot wait to see it. I cannot wait to watch it. So put that on your calendars. Of course, there'll be a list of events in the show notes. Really excited about that. Thank you, Brett and UFD Tech, for that. I can't wait. Next week is the beginning of conference season. So Labor Day's gone. Summer's over. I just got my second booster, so I feel safe. Well, feel slightly safer. I'm going to be one of those weirdos wearing a mask. But next week, conference season starts. And we get to fly down to San Diego and go to the Global Genes Conference. Global Genes is the very best patient advocacy umbrella group in the U.S. And they have an amazing conference in San Diego. If you're anywhere near San Diego next week, you should come. And I'm so excited to be going. But you might hear from me on Friday. Just be like a of exciting news, and maybe it'll be a week because I'll be so exhausted. But flying down on Monday, next week's going to be a blast. Really excited to connect with other rare disease leaders and get the latest and share and learn from each other. So stay tuned on updates on that. There will also be a Rare X meeting. It's a really exciting time of year. The number of things that are going on in the next few months is pretty mind-blowing. And this Praxis news is also mind-blowing. It's working. It's working, guys. We are going to see so much progress in the year ahead. Keep supporting us. Keep raising funds. Keep dialing in. Keep connecting with each other. This community is very powerful, and we're moving mountains. Have a good weekend.